What if I told you a tiny, nearly fossilized danger in Australian soil could suddenly kill your livestock and haunt you for decades? Today we're diving into a topic that sounds like a veterinary thriller but is very real. Anthrax, how Australia manages it, and why recent testing tools matter more than ever. I'm going to break this down like I'm on a live stream with you. No dry textbook recitation, just clear ideas, sharp takes, and a few big picture angles you may not have considered. Imagine a landscape where the soil itself is a ticking time bomb. Anthrax spores can survive in the ground for decades after an animal dies, waiting for the right warmth or moisture to wake up and strike again. In Victoria, Australia, this threat isn't rare. It's a recurring background hum of livestock risk. My take: this isn't just a veterinary issue, it's about how we coexist with a stubborn, long-lived pathogen that doesn't care about our farming calendars or our conveniences. Here's the core shift you need to feel right away. For a long time, diagnosing anthrax was a nerve-wracking, lab-heavy process. The classic method involved carrying a microscope and staining smears to confirm the presence of the bacterium. Hands-on, meticulous, and slow in the heat of an outbreak. Now, the game has changed with pen-side ICT kits, immunochromatographic tests that let vets on the ground diagnose or rule out anthrax quickly, safely, and cheaply. What makes this so important is not just speed, but the confidence to act fast. Early diagnosis enables immediate vaccination of those exposed and, crucially, stops a chain of transmission before it starts. Let's unpack the practical ripple effects, idea by idea, and sprinkle in my own take along the way. 1. Early diagnosis changes everything about response. What this matters: when you can confirm anthrax within 48 hours of an animal's death, you can mobilize vaccination for everyone who had contact with the animal, potentially halting outbreaks before they spread. My interpretation: speed isn't just a technical win, it reframes emergency decision-making. Quick tests mean quick decisions about who to vaccinate, how to quarantine, and how to reallocate resources from a worried curiosity to decisive action. Why it's interesting: this shifts the entire risk calculus for farmers. The cost of a suspected case used to include a long wait for lab confirmation. Now the uncertainty gap shrinks dramatically, which reduces both economic and emotional strain on communities. What people misunderstand: some may think a quick test replaces professional judgment. In reality, it's a force multiplier. It gives veterinarians real-time data to pair with field observations and epidemiology to tailor interventions. Bigger trend link: this is part of a broader move toward point-of-care diagnostics in animal health, which accelerates containment and changes how agriculture coordinates with public health. 2. The role of vaccination in outbreak prevention. What this matters: early diagnosis isn't just about stopping a current outbreak. It enables subsidised vaccination for those exposed, creating a defensive ring around affected sites. My interpretation: vaccination becomes a social contract tool. Public funds and veterinary expertise converge to protect an entire farming community, not just an individual animal. Why it's interesting: the economics of vaccination in response plans can determine whether an outbreak fizzles out or lingers. When vaccination is timely and subsidised, it's easier to mobilize buy-in from farmers and veterinarians alike. What people don't realize: vaccination isn't a one-and-done fix. It's part of ongoing biosecurity culture. People, gear, and workflows must align so you're ready to vaccinate quickly after a suspect case. Bigger trend link: this reflects a pattern where rapid diagnostics feed downstream preventive measures, creating a feedback loop between detection, vaccination, and environmental management. 3. Safe disposal and site decontamination as a containment pillar. What this matters: carcasses from anthrax cases remain infection sources if not incinerated and properly decontaminated at the death site. My interpretation: disposal isn't a footnote, it's a frontline control. If you ignore it, you undercut every other precaution you've taken with testing and vaccination. Why it's interesting: It highlights how environmental persistence drives the need for strict protocols, not just medical treatment. It's where lab results meet field hygiene in a real, tangible way. What people don't realize, missteps in disposal can reset the risk clock, essentially nullifying months of prevention work. The environment and the animal health system are tightly interwoven here. Bigger trend link. This touches on the broader One Health perspective. Animal health, human health, and environmental stewardship all hinge on sane disposal and decontamination practices. 4. The zoonotic angle and peace of mind. What this matters. Anthrax is zoonotic, meaning it can affect humans too. Excluding anthrax gives everyone, farmers, vets, and public health workers, clearer answers and better protection. My interpretation. Transparency and rapid exclusion reduce fear and uncertainty, which in turn supports calmer, more rational responses during an event. Why it's interesting. It underscores the human dimension of animal disease management. We're not only protecting livelihoods but also mental well-being and trust in veterinary authorities. What people don't realize, even with fast tests, communicating risk without causing panic is a delicate balance. Good reporting and clear guidance matter as much as the tests themselves. Bigger trend link. This is part of how modern animal health practices integrate public-facing risk communication with technical capability. Deeper insight. A broader pattern worth watching. The combination of rapid field tests, subsidised vaccination, and rigorous disposal protocols signals a holistic containment architecture, not a patchwork of protocols. My read. When a system aligns testing, vaccination, and environmental controls, it doesn't just react to outbreaks, it deters them by raising the baseline risk for the pathogen in any given area. What this implies. Regions with robust, well-funded diagnostic tools and clear death site protocols may experience fewer severe outbreaks and quicker recoveries, even if spores remain in the soil. What people miss. The sustainability angle. These programs require ongoing funding, training, and community buy-in. Without that, the gains can fade over time. Bigger trend link. This mirrors how other infectious disease responses are shifting toward integrated, proactive management that blends science with practical field work. Closing thought. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about a single test or a single disease. It's a case study in how knowledge, tools, and communities collaborate to reduce risk in a stubborn, long-lasting ecological problem. The lesson isn't that volcano-level outbreaks are coming back. It's that smart, connected practice, diagnostics on the ground, fast action, and environmental stewardship can tilt the odds in our favor over the long haul. If you're curious to dive deeper, I'd love to hear what part of this integrated approach you find most compelling. The rapid testing, the vaccination logistics, or the environmental controls? And for farmers watching, what would you want to see improved in your local outbreak response plan?